Okay, so I had to stop that last video, but it's kind of cool that everyone has been watching my videos, and sometimes you guys are even watching more than the one. So thanks everyone for being really polite and not giving me any grief on that. So anyway, so the last video I was talking about guns that you can find on him, and I actually think I left one out, which is kind of funny that I did that, because of course the one that I left out was his arm right here. His whole arm is a Gatling gun, and didn't seem to work too well when I only had one of the missiles in there. But if you get more than one missile in there, and then you push on this lever right here, it should fire. So let's see if I can do that one-handed. So yeah, so that one kind of slid out, but let's try and do it again. So you do see it moving. So it did fire too. So there's the first one it fired, and the second one it fired. So it fires those. Other thing I was going to show is, I don't know if I showed the inside, but there is two seats. So here's one, and then one back there. And that's one thing I kind of miss from a lot of the newer figures and stuff, and I probably will get into those, even though there's so many videos of those already. But it's one thing I kind of miss about, growing up in the heyday of when G.I. Joe was so popular. But back then it didn't really have much competition. And now, with all the different Marvel, different sized figures from Marvel that are coming out, and then of course you've got the lanyard or something like that, is what the cheaper or less expensive knockoff, in my opinion, of G.I. Joe. Plus, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, and a lot of people probably do know this, but G.I. Joe started in the 60s, and of course, I'm one of those people that's pretty open-minded when it comes to G.I. Joes, because I realize that it has to change for each generation. And so, since the 60s, you wouldn't even be able to count how many different incarnations that there's been, probably on your fingers. There's probably been so many. But, just wanted to say that, I do miss that. Too bad it wasn't able to stay on the shelves for the whole time. So G.I. Joe has not been on the shelf since the 60s. So every time it has to go on hiatus or leave the shelf, they then come back, but they don't always spend as much money on, because they're worried that it's not going to last very long. So, of course, in the 80s, you had from 1982 till 94, if not almost 95, you had figures. So, of course, Hasbro was doing big, expensive stuff. They were actually putting some money into the line. So anyway, so this, even though it came out in the later end of the first incarnation, or however you want to say it, with the 80s G.I. Joe, it's still pretty big. And it's got a little handle back here, so you can move him. He moves up and down. He moves side to side, at his waist. It's just a little hard to do it with camera in my hand. So anyway, he does bend right there. And he's got these wheels down here. There are actually two of them, because there's also some in the back. So there are a few spots where you can put your G.I. Joes. So that's what these pegs are. And then there's some more there. And then two more right there. That's the other tough thing about every incarnation too, is it seems like these foot pegs change. So some some of the newer G.I. Joes from the Rise of Cobra, it won't fit on there. And then even the hole that they have on the bottom of the G.I. Joes has changed from usually being back in the heel to now it's more in the middle, but I think they do that because sure, it helps that the newer plastics that the newer figures are made out of, you know, like our new Cobra Commander. He's very kind of rubbery feeling, but I don't think too much, but compared to the older G.I. Joes that are a little more hard plastic, it's kind of good because they used to put, and again, I don't think it, yeah, so you can see right there, on the new ones, the holes are more in the middle of the foot, and back in the day, they used to stick the hole all the way back here by his heel, and what would happen, at least on some of the Joes I even had, not as a kid so much, but now, you know, with some of my figures being 20 or so years old, they start getting a little fragile, so if you try and put the heel on, some of them, they would break, and so I think that's kind of cool. Some people don't, not that they would break, but that we now have more of a rubber, softer plastic, because I think it still holds its shape, and yet kids hopefully aren't having to try and get their parents to get them a new one, or save up their allowance, or however it is that kids are, you know, getting these nowadays. So that's kind of cool. Because it really, you know, even though I'm a grown-up and there's a lot of other people on here that are grown-ups doing these videos, I see quite a bit of kids, you know, of course. And that's really what it is for. It really is for the kids. But anyway, so I showed that, and then another thing that it has these claws right there, and if I can find the button that it does it, I think you might just push on the back one right here, and let's see if that works. No, that didn't work. Okay. Oh, well, maybe you're just supposed to push on this right here, so the claws come out. I always thought they are kind of spring-loaded, but you have to push them, and then they come out a little more. So anyway, that's the Armorbot. I don't think they really break it down why it's called the Armorbot, but the idea, I don't remember this from the cartoon, of course, because it never made it to the cartoon, but I think the idea is that this would be sent into space with the space shuttle, and then the Joes would be fighting the Cobras and if you can believe this, aliens. Yes, in the later line, they came out with aliens for G.I. Joe to be fighting against. And I never got, you know, as much as I believe G.I. Joe is, you know, fantasy and everything, I never got into the whole alien aspect of it, but that's basically what it was. G.I. Joe needed this up in space in order to fight Cobra and to fight the aliens that they end up bringing into the line later. So anyway, I think I've said quite a bit about this. So again, Armorbot, pretty cool. Have one box somewhere, but it's, you know, hidden away. But I'm glad I have it. So thanks for watching.